Dawn. Under road request, second line down, the last name Kelly. Just edit out that apostrophe. Could we move the nursing home information up to underneath the executive session? Maybe right before the ambulance, because those two things would have been coming out of executive session. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just did it in the order in which you guys did it.
Okay.
So that was the last motion. Okay. It doesn't matter to me.
Did we do the Central Kansas mental health after the executive session?
Yes, right at the end of the meeting is when we did it.
But I mean, were these two, is it in this order? Were they switched? It just doesn't, I mean, it looks like when you read it that the motion for the nursing home should be after the executive session of the nursing home is what I'm saying. And I don't remember, honestly, which way it went.
I honestly don't remember what order it was in. I don't have a problem moving it, I guess.
I think just for paper's sake, can you move it for the reading?
Do you want to have it above ambulance service or after?
It doesn't matter. I don't remember which one we did first, but
You did it in this order. So. That's the pipes one.
Somebody want to get the door, please? He's knocking.
I move we approve the minutes as corrected.
second.
Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have a tax abatement to take care of here. It's pickup that was sold through the year.
for 1544.
Yeah, I think it's 15 something.
Okay.
Partial year, because it was sold through the year, so.
I move to approve tax abatement 2018-5. It's like,
Second.
No further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
I guess we're being asked to pay for Lincoln Park Manor glass cleaner.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
I would suggest that falls under their responsibility. And then street plumbing. Street plumbing for labor, it doesn't say, oh wait, clogged toilet. A clogged toilet that street plumbing flushed several times and has resolved.
It says it was plugged several times and it's still plugging.
No, it says, the serviceman flushed the toilet several times and the clog has resolved. So apparently they didn't even have to snake it or do anything. And then Lincoln Park Manor for fire equipment company, system service. Something about a link, I don't know, 6550, can't quite read that. And then looks like they also, Lincoln Park Manor's also billing us for some cell phone equipment, a lanyard, a suspender clip, a pager boot, and a pager, 2 pagers. Do we own the rest of that system? Do we even know?
We haven't.
It wasn't on the inventory list, though.
I'm sure we bought it.
We better get that on our inventory list.
Probably put that in
I'm sorry, 4 pagers,
12,
392.
13 years ago, I suppose.
Well, it's not attached to. This is like on the person.
Yeah, but it's all part of the system. It's all computerized.
Then why isn't it on the
They went
inventory?
so they didn't have to use the pager deal to announce it. They just carry hand pagers that goes off on there.
Well, we should be double checking that that's on the list that we get from them then. From Cone Elevators and Escalators, Lincoln Park Manor. This is a recommendation for work. It's not a bill.
We need to check on that.
This isn't the same company that we use. Didn't we talk about doing that and they never came?
They never came and gave us bid, they come and looked at it, but they never gave us a bid, price.
Is Cone the company we've been using out there? Okay.
Printing solutions, does this have anything to do with the printer that you wanted to talk about, Don? Or is this just a solicitation, an ad?
I think they're wanting
Broad
to do
stroke?
wanting to do our printing and stuff the way I got it.
Oh, like advertising?
I think so. Just
Okay.
bulk printing, bulk mailing.
Oh, this is their flyer.
I don't think it's anyone we've ever done business with before that I remember.
That's all from them.
this. Here. We're ready.
Thank you.
The cover sheet that is on this packet of paperwork that I gave you shows what my current budget is. For the end of the year, I'm going to be over budget. My EMPG, my Emergency Management Performance Grant money, hasn't come in yet. Behind the budget sheet, there's a statement from the state level individual that is in charge of the EMPG funding. I typed him an email recently, and I was trying to find out if Lincoln County was awarded an EMPG grant. I hadn't heard anything and was wanting to see if checks might be coming in before the end of the year, as I again will need help with my budget, which the EMPG makes better. Again, any information would be great. And then Brett responded from the state, yes, you will be approved very soon, but there's little hope that we will be able to get the checks out in December, since FEMA has been running us late for years. But this year they were 2+ months later than usual in putting the grant out. Please give your county folks the heads up on that, and we will do the best we can. Again, I just wanted to communicate that I'll probably be about $3,300, in between $3,300 and $4,000 over budget until that money comes in. Again, usually that offsets my budget, and I generally have a little bit left over in my account. The next item in the email packet is I had communicated with a Jacob Gray, and again, he's recently filled out a hazardous mitigation assistance letter of intent grant paperwork. And down at the bottom it states, I previously sent an HMA letter of intent to you. I was trying to find out the turnaround time on this grant, as I'm seeing my commissioners on Monday, and I wanted to be able to present something to them as I'm working on other funding for this project also. Any information as to what I could tell them would be great. And then again, Jacob's response at the top says, funds to pay for the warning sirens comes from federally declared disaster or hazard mitigation grant program, HMGP. Currently, all of the 5% we have available for HMGP is slated for other projects before your submittal, currently being reviewed by FEMA. Currently, your letter of intent, not a full application submittal, is in our further funding opportunity database waiting either a disaster in Lincoln County or a underrun or disapproval of already submitted applications from FEMA for funding to become available. During your review, I did, and he has not, but I think it's note, that the amount of and scope would probably need to be broken out into separate projects in order to fund when funds do become available. Rarely in the past 5 years have we seen a 5% disaster amounts reach the 200,000 figure. So when funds do become available, prepare to prioritize the siren upgrades you want to perform first. Keep in touch and look for emails from me for funding opportunities in the future, and if you have any questions. And then Jake Gray, the State Hazard Mitigation Officer. With that, previously I had submitted grant paperwork to Post Rock Foundation, the Hewitt Foundation out of Minneapolis, and I have grant funding to go to Hanson I just have to finish it up, and it's got to be, the deadline's coming up shortly, probably within the next 2 days. With that though, again, reference his conversation, I probably don't want to proceed with that because, again, it needs to be broken down as separate projects, so I just need to prioritize what
was the total on that?
$228,000 for
And
the totality.
he didn't tell you ahead of time that 200 would be out of the range of...
No. And yeah, frustrated, and then again, I get this email, and I need to prioritize my
Well, what you want to do first.
Correct.
If you did get, yeah.
Yes. So again, that would offset, I'd just be doing 8 different grants through the next 4 or 5 years. And again, just wanted to make sure previously the commission had said that they would fund $60,000 of that. So if I did indeed pursue this, I would, with the 8 sirens that I was requesting for the community, and Hunter being one of them, I would approach their commission about possibly help funding Mitchell County's siren, Hunter's siren as it is in Mitchell County, but it's a Lincoln County Fire District. So again, ultimately, I could pursue that avenue also, but again, I don't know what their response will be to that. And Hunter does have the oldest siren in the region.
What did we say? What fund would we pull the 60,000 from? Was that strictly
I don't
repeater?
think we did. Designated a fund, I guess. I would also think that it would not hurt for some of the fire districts to stand some of that cost. So they're a taxing entity, and to me, that's only reasonable that some of that money should come from those districts.
And again, we have a chiefs meeting coming up March, like the second Wednesday of March, I think is when it is. And again, I can bring that up too. Because again, I just received this Friday, Thursday, and I was working on an exercise that we did Friday with the health department, so this wasn't a priority for me at the time to communicate with other people. But
Are these strictly fire, or are they fire and tornado both?
fire and tornado, and then generator for each of those locations also. Because again, that mitigation project was proven when we had the storms at the beginning of May this past year, when Beverly, Westfall, and Barnard were all out of power due to the tornado that touched down on Ottawa County, and they're on the end of Westar's line that got structurally damaged, so they were compromised. We did have fire people out that night in fire trucks going up and down the streets in the community, notifying the people that possibility of lowering and tornadoes.
So what you had decided thus far is that the repeater board was going to take ownership of whatever,
This project, yes.
well, and whatever
then-
equipment comes with it.
Right, and then the fire departments, when they do their monthly trainings, they would have however X amount of firefighters, and again, that each fire department differs in that amount, but when they have their monthly trainings, they would start the generator, check the fluids, start the
They'll do all the
generators, and let
maintenance
it,
for
yes,
the-
correct. And that would be part of the in-kind match also, which for the 7 departments or 8 departments, it totaled like $16,000 for in-kind match for the year.
That they were going to already agree to.
Yes, yes. And I sent that information to the chiefs, and that was
So it was like
discussed.
2,000 or something per department-ish. So,
Some departments have larger turnouts than other departments. Again, bigger resource, bigger draw. Lincoln has City Fire and First Rural, so they have their meetings together. They have more attendees than, for example, Denmark or Hunter or Westfall.
so what's the biggest expense, the sirens or the generator?
By far the generators.
And you need one for each location.
Would prefer to have one because again, there is no, the only ones that are backed up right now are generator backup is the city of Lincoln. But again, sometimes there's lag time on that, and we're looking at the infrastructure, moving the 2 current sirens that we have with the project, adding another siren down at the fire station. There's currently a siren about a block and a half or half a block east of Lincoln Park Manor, moving that siren to that generator
Because
there.
there's a generator there.
Right, right, and then the other one moving up to the hospital because they have a generator there. This is already in place. So then the siren that would be down at the fire station here in Lincoln would be bigger and would cover the southern half
That's what- yeah,
of
so-
Lincoln.
Well, that kind of puts a halt on things.
Frustrating halt, yes. Recently had a conversation with LaDonna Reiner, the health department administrator, and Commissioner Finch is going to be going off the board, and currently we have 2 county trailers that he allows us, has been gracious enough to allow us to keep out at his property I had spoke to LaDonna Reinert, the health department administrator, and she said she would allow me to park those 2 trailers down behind the health department, along like the blue building where that is, that tree line or property line. And again, at some point I'll get better demographics from her as to where I can locate those. But I just wanted to let you know that I will be moving those off your property. So.
Nothing else, maybe over by a propane tank.
Right,
for the
right.
generator.
Yes. Hosted a tabletop exercise this past Friday, December 14th, at the health department. It sparked a good conversation with people from law enforcement, the Lincoln Senior Center, the Housing Authority, Kansas Division of Emergency Management, Fire Department, EMS, Lincoln County Hospital, the Health Department, and one of the home health agencies that comes in and sets up medication for the residents. Also invited the funeral home in Lincoln, as well as Pastor Kay Metzler from the Methodist Church in Lincoln, to sit in on this tabletop exercise, and it was to reference a fire at the high rise, and neither one of those agencies were able to attend. But again, there was good discussion. And then tomorrow, myself, LaDonna, Katie Gardner from the hospital, and Dina Donnelly from the high rise are going to start working on the after action report as far as things that we can improve and address, improvement plan. There's been discussion started by Eric Stewart, the North Central Kansas Division of Emergency Management representative, about having an ICS 300 class in the North Central region. Unsure of the time frame, however, it is hopeful that we, the region, could have the class in Beloit. It is unsure if we would be able to have the 2 or 3 day class, again, is unsure when training requirements are coming down to the state level from FEMA. Prerequisite for this course are ICS 100C, Introduction to the Incident Command System, IS 700B, an Introduction to the National Incident Management System, IS 200B, ICS for Single Resources and Initial Action Plans, and IS 800C, National Response Framework and Introduction. There would need to be at least 12 people in the region with a maximum of 25. Once it's posted on KS Train, I will forward to the people in the region that would be involved in the command structure of an incident to sign up for the class. Back on December 3rd, I had previously come before the commission and had spoke to you about this MGT 314 training that's available at College Station, Texas. And you folks wanted me to report out to different department heads and find out what who might be able or willing to attend this training. It spoke to Dawn, Leanne Bishop, and Tammy Kurth, and they would not be able to attend the training. Representative from Public Works, EMS, and the Health Department, and myself that could attend this training from June 3rd to 7th. Again, this training is offered by Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and the flight and lodging are already paid for, and each individual is reimbursed upon return for their meals. It is covered under the per diem rate established by the Department of Homeland Security. There are also several dedicated volunteer fire department personnel that would be willing to attend this training, which could possibly be involved in the command capacity of an incident, and this would be at no cost to the county. I'm requesting your permission so that I can start the discussion with the training agency for our attendance. And again, June 3rd through the 7th is the training date that would work for the primary group of people that have agreed to attend this training.
Did you say Public Works, Health?
EMS and EM.
And me, yes.
What is the end result there? Is there some sort of testing, proficiency testing at the end of the coursework?
At the beginning of the course, and again, like the Department of Homeland Security training that I went to in Pueblo, the last 3 years that I've attended out there 3 times, there's a pre-test and then there's a post-test. And you have to proficiently pass that exam. Again, your attendance, for example, out in Pueblo, the training site is 26 miles from town. So you arrive out at this facility, and then you get bussed in because it's a secure facility. You get bussed in to on-site where the training is. So if you don't attend that training, then in the morning you don't get accounted for, and then your agency gets notified and you automatically get sent home.
I guess I'm not worried about attendance as much as, you know, if they want to be there to do the class, then they should probably be proficient in their testing. So I would say if we're going to fund it, it should be contingent upon them passing.
And again, the 3 courses that I've taken out in Pueblo, Again, I've got my certificates, and I'd gladly bring them to you to show that I haven't been wasting taxpayers' dollars in attendance of this course.
I'm just saying, if they're getting paid their daily rate to be there from our payroll, they should be responsible for that same amount of money if they're not going to finish.
And again, I think the individuals that are listed for the county have a valid response to being able to participate in this. Again, Public Works Director Michael O'Hare, not as only the Public Works Director, but he's also Fire, Rescue, and First Rural Fire Chief. And again, there's other county volunteers that have offered to go. There's possibly one or two people from the hospital that would like to attend this class also. But again, that's out of the county's budgeted expense, so that's not an issue. And volunteer fire guys, the people that have said that they would go, again, they're taking the initiative to take this training. I think that speaks volumes for what they want to bring back to the community.
How many are you allowed to apply for?
Says the class size, I think, is 40, is what that packet of information that I gave you previously.
40 total.
Total.
But I'm saying,
But
are
again,
you limited for Lincoln
For
County?
the agency, and again, I haven't had that discussion with the facility down at College Station, Texas, as I'm still waiting authorization from you folks. So there's a possibility that I could have 6 or 8 people. But again, too, when I attended that last training session out in Pueblo, there were 6 battalion chiefs from Washington, D.C. that were there at one time. So Department of Homeland Security, whether it's the CERTSI facility down in Pueblo or the TEACS program in College Station, Texas, it's Department of Homeland Security funded, so I know at least 6 individuals can go.
Well, it's been brought to my attention that I believe this board cannot receive your grant funding unless we have one person who has a minimum amount of credentials, correct?
Grant funding for,
Anything that you're applying for, as far as FEMA money.
and grant training or credentialed for what
I'm not
capacity?
I'm not sure. Someone had questioned me saying that you were saying that I didn't have the minimum amount of credentials. So, but what I understand by reading into that is that one person on each board, let's say the city, wants to receive disaster relief funding through a grant that they've applied for from the federal level. And I don't know, you have all these acronyms, the EPMG, whatever. So it's my understanding that at least one person on each board has to have some sort of minimum credentialing. You don't know what that is? Or am I speaking foreign
Again,
language?
I, as the emergency management representative from the county, I have previously been told that I have signature authority for these grants. Is that correct? Or am I misspeaking?
So the commission doesn't have to directly receive it. It's coming through your department.
Correct.
Okay. Because my question would be, if this is the next level of education, would it behoove one of the commissioners to take that on?
An elected official, I think, is on that list or in that packet of paperwork at one of the pages. It's designated that an elected official could attend that training also, yes.
I was just curious, what do they, do they train you like for what if there was a terrorist act, like a terrorist hit us or like a...
Any kind of incident.
Anything.
Flooding, tornado, a foreign animal disease outbreak, any kind of incident that an incident management team would need to be set up for.
I see. And then when you get your training, then you can kind of organize those people that go with you on
Right.
a plan of what to do in case we had something bad.
Right.
Okay. I was just curious exactly what was how it worked.
And again, once I leave the meeting, I'll gladly bring you a packet of paperwork.
Oh,
as your new
yeah, no,
commissioner.
I'm just curious
And
what
just
was...
show you what
yeah,
I presented to them
That
last time.
sounds good, David. I was
Okay.
just curious
Uh-huh.
what that consisted of.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And then once something does happen, that's when you apply for the grant reimbursements for example, we had the fires last year that he did a lot of work for to gather
Sure.
up. And I don't even know what the numbers were on that, recuperating some of
They're
those
pretty
funds,
large.
but
I want to say $23,000, I want to say.
so that we can recuperate some of our expense
Now,
to
like
take
you
care
say,
of
you're
that.
going to this, Homeland Security's gonna pay for it, you're saying, right?
Correct.
But you, okay, so,
Yeah, and again, the lodging and the flight are already paid for.
where are you going?
College Station, Texas.
Oh, okay.
And again, then you reimburse, you keep track of your receipts for your meals, and then you get a per diem rate when you're down at the
Sure,
facility,
okay.
and then you get reimbursed that money that you spent for your
You
meals.
think, you've been to this before, you think this is good training for
In
everyone, for all
in
of us?
Pueblo, I've been to the facility in Pueblo 3 different times. The commission has allowed me to go reference hazmat incidents
And you-
specifically.
You think it's good? You
Beneficial.
You learn a lot?
Beneficial, yes.
Well, that's good, okay.
And again, I would like other people within the community, rather than just me, going to the training, because again, part of that brochure that they also printed on was incident command system forms, and there's a whole list of paperwork that is incident job specific, that it is to be utilized. And the more people that know this, the better off the infrastructure of the county would be.
I saw on there it suggested like nonprofit groups, religious affiliate groups. I mean, I don't know who all you've reached out to besides like directly county related, but you know, I don't know what your capacity limitation is going to be.
Right, and again, I can find that information out in addition to, and report back that information also if you would like.
Do you currently, like now, if we had a bad tornado come through Lake County, you kind of have a plan set up on how to deal with that?
The emergency operations plan was updated back in 2015, and it's good for 5 years. And with that, that was facilitated by an agency that did that. When I first came on board, the emergency operations plan had expired between the time that my predecessor left and the time that I came on board. And I attended this training down in Kingman, and gave me some information and knowledge about the emergency operations plan. It's called the Kansas Planner. It's a tool that the emergency manager can utilize. And that plan has specific direction for fire, for flooding, for animal disease, for a gamut of
Okay.
items.
All right, thank you, I don't take up your time.
No problem. You're gonna need to learn it.
Yeah, trying to determine what's going on here.
The cost to the county that we were talking about would be continuing the payroll and paying whoever is attending for their day's pay out of our pocket while they're there. The grant, if you will, is covering their expenses for traveling and being there. But we would still pay them out of payroll to not be here, but to be
But
in
if they were
training.
here, you were paying them too, right? So,
But through the years, we've got a lot of money through the highway department from FEMA too, on different disasters, so there is advantages to those people knowing how to perform the duty.
Have you done all that paperwork as well?
I didn't get, when 16, I think, when we had flooding, Michael was primarily involved in that. It was just specifically the highway department, since that's who was the lead agency on that event. But I was out with the regional KDM representative, Kansas Division of Emergency Management representative, and again, there was a FEMA representative also that went to each location within the county that we had structural damage to the roads, and it ended up being not enough, and we couldn't pursue it any further. So we did go through that process and the paperwork, but we didn't meet the threshold.
I don't remember when that was, probably 12 or 13 maybe, when we had quite a bit of damage that we collected FEMA funds on.
And that was with Rodney, and prior to
Yeah.
me taking the position as emergency manager, yes, sir.
I don't have an issue with some of the people going. I think, you can all sit back and say it's never gonna happen, but I think every place it happens says it's never gonna happen here. And if it does, it could make a lot of difference in dollars of reimbursement if you know what you're doing versus not knowing what you're doing, so.
Did you want to go, Mr. Wallace?
No, certainly not June 3rd to the 7th. I guess I think the four that you've identified are the key ones in this county that would be involved in any type of disaster, Public Works, Health, EMS, and yourself. I don't have any problems. As Randy said, we pay them if they're here or if they're there. And certainly, we benefited greatly in probably 2012 or 10 or whenever that was, disaster. We actually got a road rebuilt that we never would have got rebuilt if it hadn't been for that grant. Don, my only question is on the EMS personnel. Those are hourly wages, and I guess could we designate that during that week they do not have any runs? Because if they would have a run, we would be talking about an enormous amount of overtime. If they had a run on Saturday or...
You mean
If they were scheduled on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, you would have to address that period across the board because there's no way that you should be paying overtime for them to go to this training.
Well, that's what I wanted.
Well, it's also a scheduling issue 6 months from now with whoever's going to be directing that department.
And I would have no problem communicating with whoever the EMS director is, whatever.
To be honest, it should probably be the director. And,
And that's a possibility also, yes. I understand that, yes.
We have no way of knowing who that's gonna be, so.
At this time, correct.
can you secure a spot without an identification?
Again, I can communicate with the TEAG's program director down there and find out an answer, yes.
I would move that we authorize David to continue to plan for attendance of that at College Station for a representative from Public Works, Health, EMS, and Emergency Management.
4? Is that what
Four.
we're designating?
Yes.
Four slots?
And certainly communicate to the public, the rest of the people, but those four that we will be responsible for wages for.
Okay.
I'll second the motion. Is there any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I guess I would just say, Alexis, in referring to me going, one thing I think the commission is a 4-year, so in 4 years, we're gone. We could be, you understand? So those disasters, I guess I feel that though we need, our people need to be knowledgeable to inform us. As to me, to have that information, it is helpful as long as I'm here. But if I leave, the county is without that, whereas if we have employees to advise us, and they're the ones that are going to be on the front line, not me. I'm going to be making decisions, policy decisions.
Agreed.
So,
Thank you.
not that
Thank
I'm
you,
against education.
Once I find more
just-
information,
Oh, I
I'll
understand
report
that.
back and keep a running informal.
Did you guys actually vote?
Yes.
Yes. 3-8.
I would also just like to reiterate the contingency upon completion.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I think
that's only fair to expect that if they're paid for it, it is completed.
And I can convey that with the individuals prior to handing out information that the commission has said, yes, we could approach this and whatnot. I will ensure that that's a part of the commitment.
Sounds
from
good.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
You bet.
Eric, do you need to see us about something?
Well, I was just in the neighborhood. I wanted to thank you for using Camel Johnson this year and give you some treats. And this is our newest calendar.
All righty.
Thank
So,
you.
just wanted to, again, thank you for your faith in us and hope that we can work again together.
Well, thank you for your assistance,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Eric.
you're welcome. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too.
Eric, I had a question.
Yes.
Greg Babcock said he had contacted you about getting some drawings so that he could have some accurate measurements. Did any of us follow up on that? I don't know, Terry, maybe you were going to follow
It
up
was,
on that?
Yeah, I'm following up on it, and the situation appears to be this, and I'm waiting for some stuff to be emailed to me, but the person that did the bidding on the doors is no longer with the company. The guy that took his place thinks there's possibly a way of saving a little bit of money by going with a lower rated door in certain areas, which until I see what he's got for documentation, I don't agree with, because I've been around long enough to know that they're going to come in the door someday and say, why don't you have a 20-minute door there?
Yeah.
They bid all the higher rating 20-minute or whatever they are.
Probably an hour.
That was what they bid. But they're just saying, this new guy come in and says, well, we could save a couple of $1,000 maybe if we went to lower rated doors in these certain openings, which to me makes absolutely no sense. It was bid at the higher rating, but I'm waiting on him. He's supposed to be emailing me some stuff. I'm going to contact him again today because I didn't receive it last week. But
Well, if you need any help, let me know. A 20-minute door is a standard solid core door. The fire marshal has made that ruling that a solid core wood door is considered it takes 20 minutes for it to burn through. And normally in a nursing home, there wouldn't be that many doors that would be 20-minute, I would think. The doors you're talking about, I'm almost positive would have to be an hour-rated door.
So why did that company not have the drawings and the measurements?
they
'Cause I
do
think-
have. It doesn't have anything to
Like
do
that's
with...
what Greg came in here and asked us.
No, it doesn't
I
have
sent
anything...
Greg a drawing, so I don't know if
It doesn't have anything to do with the measurements. Nothing whatsoever.
it's just
They
door.
came out, they took their own measurements. They got
Normally,
it all.
no, if
It's
normally
just
they
the
do
fire
come
rating.
out and get their own
Yeah,
dimensions.
they did. They came out and got their own measurements. The only question is whether or not we could go to a lower fire rated door in certain areas, which I can almost assure you at some point the fire marshal's gonna come in and say that it's not enough. So you might as well put the higher rated doors that were bid in there.
In all the years I've been in it, they've never backed off. They've usually made it tougher, so.
Yeah.
You may be wise in making that just go with the hour rated doors, but I'm not, we haven't heard, or I haven't heard, if he's given you any kind of dollar amount.
Yeah, we bid this thing almost 18 months ago.
Yeah, but I meant the difference.
Oh, no, he hasn't. No.
So,
I'm assuming it's coming in this, or he's gonna email me, but I could be wrong.
okay. Well, if you
Okay.
need more drawings or anything, just let me know.
Okay.
Send it to you, but, because we took and compiled all the existing drawings into one drawing and sent that to Brad. He was going to use it for their exiting fire, if in case of fire, this is where you go and all that signage on the wall, and he was going to use it for other things. So if he needs any more, just let me know.
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna contact him again today because he was supposed to send me some information and I didn't receive it, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah. Have a Merry Christmas.
Okay, can I
Thank
interrupt
you.
just 1 second before you left? I looked back in the minutes, and Greg said that somebody was wanting him to provide a life safety map. Is that what you provided, Greg?
I gave him a drawing of the whole building. It shows where the exits are, but a life safety drawing, he'll have to go in there and say, this is an hour-rated wall, and this is a...
And that's what this guy's gonna help with, or do?
I don't-
Because that's what Greg said he didn't feel comfortable doing. That's what I had in the
Well, he
minutes.
didn't feel comfortable lowering the rating down to,
No, it said.
No, I think he didn't
he's
have
asking
measurements
him
on there.
to provide a life
No,
safety
they've
map
got
for
the
the facility. He does not believe that he's qualified to complete this task. That's
well,
what he said.
but the only reason they need that is to lower the fire rating.
We would need to go in there and look above the ceilings and find out if you got a barrier between this side and that side in the attic. That helps determine whether or not it's sealed.
Who's requesting that map?
It said, overhead door company is asking him
The
to
door
provide
company
life
wanted
safety
that.
maps.
Okay, so
for the
you're saying that way
facility.
they could anticipate which doors they would reduce the rating
Yeah.
on, depending on
That
what the
was
hallway
mine.
was.
That was my
like,
understanding.
yeah, and the rooms.
We could do that. It just needs some investigating work to go and find out what kind of material the wall's made out of and whether or not it goes all the way up to the roof deck. So, because they create not only fire sections, so you can section off an area if there was a fire, a compartment. But they also have a smoke compartment deal, which is, you got to seal every place where a wire goes through a wall and all that stuff. So that needs to be investigated to make that determination.
Yeah, we've had to seal up some places with fire marshal. They'll find in the attic. They'll find a wire going through. A
Why
wall.
would the door company not request that prior to giving the bid?
That's a good
Kind
question.
of doesn't make sense.
And that could be why we're dealing with a different person now than we were 18
Could very
months
well
ago.
be. Yeah, I would, with you, I would want that information before I give you a price, because I'm afraid that my price would be off. All right, well,
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Okay.
Steve, did you want to visit with us?
Yeah, just a minute or two. I apologize for my tardiness.
Oh, no problem.
Maybe it didn't end up being tardiness.
No, you're fine.
I'm here on behalf of the city of Sylvan Grove. We've continued to update our fleet of equipment through the past number of years and stuff. And we've arrived at the point that we're looking at replacing our motor grader, which is 54 years old. Obviously, it doesn't owe us anything, but it's time. It's getting hard to get parts and adjust and such as that. It's my understanding that the county is going to retire a couple graders or has replaced a couple graders. As such, I've kind of suspended our search for a grader until I had a chance to visit with you guys. I think there's a great deal of, albeit abstract value in being able to purchase a unit that you know the real history on.
I'm not giving you a warning.
Well, I know. I guess my thought, and I know exactly where you're going, but the amount of use that we use it for obviously isn't the duress it's been through the past many years. Obviously, the units I understand are early 90s, mid 90s models. I tell people that'd be like going from the space shuttle to the Starship Enterprise for us. And as such, we had talked about not getting in a big rush till next year. We had some expenditures this year that we don't normally have. Bought a building, we paid off a water loan early to avoid an audit. So as such, everybody had a mindset. We thought we'd just wait till next year and we could probably get by. However, this blast of winter that we've had here recently kind of made the question, maybe we ought to push the issue a little bit. So with council's blessing, I'd like to just visit with you guys, say that we are interested. I don't know what your timeline is for sure. I don't know what your price would be. Whether you might consider allowing us to break the payments up, not terribly long, but and I don't want to throw any numbers out. Just
I couldn't give you a number today either.
I know.
Steve, so.
I guess one thing I fall on is it's a chance for that unit to continue to serve Lincoln County residents.
I don't have a problem myself trying to work something out.
The only plan we've even talked about is that the equipment that we have on the sale list, we were going to wait until spring anyhow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And it was going to be auctioned. So
So,
It's gonna be a
we've been purple waving.
purple wave and we purple wave.
right, which I guess leads me to, and I understood that, leads me to the question for a particular unit, would you guys maybe waive that one county entity to another? If it was a private individual, I'd have no, but one unit of government to another, would you guys consider maybe?
I think statutorily, if it's under a certain dollar amount, we we don't have to do
I think we can go.
a bidding. I don't know what that dollar amount is though.
Because we're going to a taxing entity, within the county, I don't know if that standard policy exists.
I'm just floating ideas, I guess, see what might be possible.
Does yours have any value at all?
Oh, maybe to the right individual, you know, that'd like to have an old motor grader sitting on his property. It's obviously not, you know, worth nothing, but
I guess
you want to try it?
I would I would say that might
Maybe
be
sell it on
a
purpose.
possibility. I don't think we can give it to you, but I
Oh,
think that in the interest of taxpayers in this county
Yeah.
and the city of Sylvan Grove, I don't have a problem in switching, but we're going to have a little money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
you know, and if we can get an appraisal and the difference, I don't have a problem as long as we legally can do it. But,
well, and just so you know, I am no way, shape, or form asking for
well, I
a
don't
freebie.
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
whatever it's worth. I guess
But,
what I'm asking is, and like I say, I kind of planned on not having this conversation with you guys till maybe next summer.
I think there's.
John,
I
do you
think
know
there's
what
really
statute that would be?
great value
can't
in doing that, and certainly we are come along that the graders that we're going to be selling on Purple Wave are
They're
usable.
better.
They have
Yeah.
they.
Right.
I mean, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have let you had one because we were going to have more expensive.
Well, the
but
one
these are pretty good, and I'd visit with Michael and see which one's the
Right.
best. I mean, you know, I have no problem with you.
Well, the one I'm, you know, obviously familiar with, it's gone by the farm a million times. You know, kind of know who's been running it and how they take care of it and stuff. So, like I say, that's obviously an abstract value, but there's certainly some value there to that information and knowing.
I think we
you
can
could
work
talk,
with you.
You could talk to Michael. They could kind of give you a heads up if there was an issue with one of them.
Okay.
So
So do you think you guys still want to hold fast to not sell until next spring, or?
well, no. The reason what we were considering waiting till spring was because normally the market's a little better in the spring than it is in the dead of winter. Was the only reason that we were holding off until
And he was
spring.
going to list everything together.
Right.
And I don't think there's any reason that if you're in need of a grader,
Yeah.
we can't provide you
Well-
a grader. I mean that's.
And I don't want it to sound like we're just absolutely
No, I
duress.
mean, you don't. You're not.
I mean,
but
we used the old one this last thing, and to his credit, Larry was able to put it through its paces. Like, you know, he makes it look easy, but that's not always the case either. You know, he grew up on it.
Yeah, I was
so,
gonna say you got a lot
So-
of experience on this.
I guess I'm just here as a preliminary visit just to see what might be possible. You guys want to talk about it at your convenience and let us know, and I'd be
Yeah.
happy to come back, visit with you, or
It'd
relay
just
something
be
to
a
the
matter of
council.
figuring out a price and
Yeah.
terms and.
Like I say, just so you understand, I'm not asking for a giveaway.
Yeah,
I just
I understand.
fully intended whatever the price is, deal with it one way or another. You know, now whether it's something that, you know, I told the council, I said, I got to think ours is worth a few thousand. There's still a farmer somewhere that'd like to have it
Well,
around for that.
you know, we've gone to sell them on Purple Wave, and
I found the
it's-
statute.
it's by far the best way to go.
Right,
So-
right.
It's 19-11. It's sale or disposition of a county property, public notice, election, when, publication of certain sales, contracts for sale, lease purchase agreements, exceptions. So I guess that would be a lease purchase agreement in some way, shape, or form if it was in payment.
I don't.
Except for any property belonging to a county law enforcement department and is otherwise provided in this section, no property, the value of which is more than $50,000, belonging to any county shall be sold or disposed of by any board of county commissioners without a unanimous vote of such commissioners and public notice of such sale or disposition.
So you guys aren't required to put it out for bids.
Over 50 or under 50,000.
Under 50,000.
It doesn't appear that we are, though. As I said, it makes a difference. It would make a difference to me since it's a government unity within the county.
Well, like I say, that's kind of been
to a
my
private individual. Yet, no, I would not.
the crutch I'm leaning on
I mean,
is
we
like, you know,
I don't think it wouldn't be too difficult to find a value
okay.
to it.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't be an exact value,
Well-
but, you know, you could get a range of value for that piece of equipment. And
If you guys, I don't know what avenue you might use, consult Cat, I don't know what you're thinking.
Probably.
I guess if you're gonna do that, I might be interested in saying while you're at it, have them contact me and we do the same for our dinosaur.
Yeah, we can do that. I
You know,
mean,
something
yeah, Michael
like that.
can do that.
And like I
Is it a
say,
cat? Is it a cat?
yeah, it's a 120, I can't remember what the letter is behind it.
120A.
Says, in the event of any sale or
Might be a
disposition of
key.
real property pursuant to the authority under this section, the board, in its discretion, may enter into and execute contracts for sale or lease purchase agreements for a term of not more than 5 years.
Okay. Well, like saying, it all depends on where we start on price too. Like say, had we not had this little spit here, I probably wouldn't be too worried, but it was enough. It's kind of like, well, maybe we ought to rethink
Well,
this.
in the meantime, if it happens to go down
Yeah.
and you get hold of us, we'll
Yeah,
make sure
we've
you've
got
some.
extra.
There it is here.
We,
Come on up, Michael.
Well,
You might as well be involved in this conversation.
there he is.
Steve.
The city of Sylvan is possibly interested in purchasing one of our graders.
Okay.
So we want to see about maybe somehow getting an appraisal on one of them or something.
Okay.
And maybe even get with Steve and have a conversation with him about maybe which machine they might be wanting.
Michael and I had talked, but it was before the storm. I told him, we really weren't too worried about it till we
Sometime
had
after
a
first
little
year.
blizzard
and
there.
I think he's wanting a value on what they have too.
Oh.
When they have,
On our grade.
if you
Well,
have a salesman come in.
yeah, if you have
value on
someone come appraise yours, have them
Somebody-
contact me and,
Might even be able to do that tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah.
Joe, I don't see any exemptions for
It's-
if it's another
It's at
taxing
you guys'
entity,
convenience. I mean, I'm not here,
only a nonprofit.
Sure
So
of that.
we'd still have to do the publication
I just want to
and
be
depending on the
prudent and
price.
say, hey, let's don't.
Well, it's under 50,000.
Right.
Any old team, I would just.
You've got my phone number, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I say, at your folks' convenience, you talk about it, and let me know, and I'll have to go back to council and say, hey, this is what might be possible, whether they want to do something. Your rolls over, that makes a difference for us too, obviously, funding wise, so. I don't know, as I understand from our conversation, there's 2 units that are available. Off the top of your head, would one be better than the other, or are they pretty much the same?
They can look at the service records and tell you
Yeah.
where they're at on service as far as
They're
engines,
gonna be-
transmissions, and rear
Pretty
ends.
close in age, aren't they?
Fair. I think there's a few years difference.
Okay. Well, like I say, I appreciate the time and your
I would
consideration.
sure need to look at the service records because you spend $12,000 on a transmission so fast it'll make your head
Right,
spin.
right. Well, like I say, I'm contending that the limited use we have for dragging our streets and every once in a while plowing snow, which years past hasn't been,
No.
and who's to say, we're all kind of mumbling about moisture right now. This thing could turn off, could be praying for rain again. So,
That's
anyway,
true.
but at you
Won't be
guys'
a while.
convenience, if you need, contact me and we'll just work through it as we go. And like I say, I'm not here in dire straits, but I'd just like to have the conversation and see what might be possible. And we'll go from there.
We'll work with you.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you, folks.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Thank you.
Morning.
Hello.
Ready to move right into me then, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. OS 105, which is just west of town here. L&M should be moving a crane in sometime this week to drive that pile. So we got it closed down and the structure removed last week. We just need to do some staking and get everything figured out on our pile location and everything. OS 87 Goldenrod Bridge, they got the south pier and south abutments poured last week, and they started piling on the north side. have been slowed down a little bit with the high water that was in the creek, but it looks like they're moving right along again. So last week, Tanner, he came up and we were able to visit about the 120th Road issue that we had discussed. And we went and drove all that, and we looked, and there's 6 locations within that first 2 miles there that need addressed, and there's one additional one even further south that it wouldn't hurt if we could address it. And I know at the time that fell outside the parameters of the CDBG grant we had as far as money available. And then I came up with an idea that he's going to look into a little more for us, is pulling our minor collector HRRR funds and see if we can use HRRR funds for this project.
What's that stand for?
High risk rural roads.
Oh.
It's the same project we've been doing our signs with.
With the sign, yeah.
Yes. You know, I think it's a possibility. I don't know why they wouldn't. I know we've already submitted, but I'm sure we could tell KDOT they haven't done selection yet, that we'd like to pull that and put it as a number 2 and put another one as a primary. So I'm hoping we can look at it that way.
Did he think that this is going to require purchase of right-of-way?
I don't believe that we'll need to do a purchase of right-of-way on these. I believe that we can get away with temporary easement, construction easement, because we're going to allow the fences to go right back where they're at. We're just going to need the slope at the time of construction and then allow them to put back. Unless we decide that we want to purchase right-of-way, and then the fences will need to be completely relocated. I guess that's going to be a little bit your guys' decision also.
So we'll have to go out and buy material somewhere.
We'll need fill, yes. Large quantities of fill.
Fine.
We have to extend the tubes. Is that what we're going to do?
Yep.
Just extend them instead of take them out, or?
More than likely, it depends on the condition of them. A lot of them will have to just be replaced when we're doing it, unless they're in good enough shape.
How many miles are we done?
What's
How
that?
many miles?
Most of it's on the first 2 miles. Miles 2 and 3. And one of them's all the way south of Elk, so it's way out of the way.
Do any of you guys have the book map of the property?
I don't have it.
Do you have it with you?
I think I have one somewhere.
That's one.
2008.
Thank you.
Yes, no.
It's just north of. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So using that money, would that, how much of that funding would it?
He's going to have to do a lot of work to find the number.
I just wondering what we'd be up to, yes.
Yeah, I know with the sign projects, it was 100% on signage, but this would probably be a 90-10.
90-10.
And, you know, it might be something we have to look at as mini projects over several years too. Start with the worst first.
Michael, I had 2 things brought to me that I wanted to relay. In orange, on 70th, just north of X-Ray, there's a culvert issue there. And I don't have any pictures for you, I'm sorry.
It's on 70th,
On
north of
70th.
X-Ray.
Yes, just north of
Crossroad entrance.
It's just right in on the road.
The one that goes under the road.
Okay.
I have not looked at it myself. And then, let's see, where are we at the other one? I don't know if it's a Vesper or Golden Belt. Must be Golden Belt. must be Golden Belt. So in Golden Belt, when you take this road west, which looks like it might be green, let's see. That, yeah, here, at this little injunction, there must be a bridge there. I don't see.
It'd be a culvert. It's a culvert.
Yeah, it could
on
be
the
shorter
map.
than, but it's right there. Grain west of 120th. So it's a small bridge. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it does qualify just as a culvert, but I received a call about that, and so has the motor grader operator.
Okay.
And I don't know what needs done. I haven't been to either of those locations, but I was called about them a couple, within the last 2 weeks.
Ready?
Thank you.
And Central Valley Ag contacted me about if we would be interested in some of their old anhydrous tanks that are located in Westfall. And they have 3 of them down there. One is 40-foot usable length by a 7-foot diameter. Then they have 2 of them that are 45-foot by 5-foot diameter. And those would work pretty well as a culvert for us in a couple locations. They're not quite large enough that I think I'd want to send them to Oklahoma to be split. But I think that working with anhydrous, it's something that we could be safe enough with to cut it ourselves and make usable culverts out of. They wanted me to make an offer, and I didn't know what you guys might feel is a good price.
Can you go back on Purple Wave or some of them that have sold and get a comparison?
Potentially, if I knew if I can just research it that way.
I wouldn't have any idea.
I can tell you that a 7-foot diameter corrugated pipe is around $200 a foot, and that'd be $8,000 in comparison. Then on the 5-foot diameters, it looks like it'd be $5,850 for brand new on that. Granted, we're going to have expenses to go into it as far as moving and cutting and all of that. And just a number in my eye was thinking
Do we have
about.
the capacity to move them?
We should. I think that both of our loaders should be able to pick those up. If not, then we would have some expense of a crane. I researched some weights, and I think we should be able to. But there's a few things that I'd have to work out with them if you guys are interested in making an offer on it. I'd like to have them make darn sure they're sucked down and vented to air for a while before we even get them and stuff like that. I don't want to have to be dealing with a product that we have no way to deal with. But I was thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $2,500 per tank as an offer would be fair on both parties.
I wouldn't think any more than that.
I know there's been some sold on Purple Wave in the last year. If I get time, I could sit in and see if I could.
I know that they have a propane tank that's in Lincoln here that they're selling too, and I believe it is being sold at an auction, and I don't know if it was Big Iron or Purple Wave or what, but we don't want to deal with propane.
No.
That's just too dangerous for us to handle in-house.
I have one more.
Okay.
I jotted this down on a sticky note when someone called. It's, south on 14 on Green. So, I think she said going back to the west on 14, 1 mile in on Green. I have not been down there either, so. But it was more of a road condition issue, not necessarily culvert.
Drain west 1 mile from K14.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So what number would you guys like to offer? 2 or 25?
How many are there?
A total of 3.
I would say 2
That's what I would say,
Start
is
there.
at least
or less.
that,
Offer
I would
5 for all.
so they have a, I would hope they would remember that they're in Lincoln County. Probably won't. And I got a good letter from them this week, and they made lots of money, so
Imagine that.
I got a big check, so. Didn't you get a big check?
Yeah, real big.
Okay. Now I'll offer 5 and work up. And is there a maximum that you guys would not like me to go over on those?
We have a comment.
Michael, is that the big tanks?
Yeah, those.
Oh, not the ones on the trailer.
No,
The
not
little
little
ones.
tanks.
Oh,
These
okay.
are large storage
Oh, the
tanks.
big long ones. Yeah, okay, yeah, they're a lot bigger. I was curious, which ones. Okay.
There was 2 of them that are 45-foot usable length
Oh,
by
okay.
5-foot diameter,
Oh, okay.
and one that's 7-foot diameter with 40-foot of usable length.
Okay, yeah, the bigger ones. That's what I thought. Those little ones like on the trailer, you probably can't use. They're probably too small.
They'd end up
You got to
creating
weld
more
together.
Yeah, I
expense to make them
Okay,
usable.
thanks.
Yeah.
That's all, thank you.
Well, I guess if we make an offer, they surely will have to give a counter offer.
Okay, that'll work.
Were you done?
Yes.
Okay, I just had one more thing. I went out to look at the bridge that we had talked about several times. I always forget the number, but it's 65. Does that sound right? On Kiowa?
On Kiowa, I believe that's right.
Yeah. So here's my concern. I know we talked about putting it on the list for a full replacement, but looking at it structurally, the integrity underneath of that stonework is still very much intact. And I'm just wondering why we can't handle in-house replacing simply the decking. I mean, there may be some issues there as far as, I know you need large equipment if you're going to redo those beams. It's all wood right now. So I don't know, we talked about, last year or earlier, replacing wood with steel. However, a full replacement on that, can we not serve another bridge better with a full replacement than this one?
Possibility. It depends.
And you had mentioned that before,
Yeah.
but then we talked about putting it on that list
Mhm.
because we were applying. But I guess after getting out and
I would. Both approach abutments would have to be replaced.
it's any good.
They're the approach spans. There's approach spans on each side that are made out of wood, and then it's got a steel truss that's in the middle. So ultimately, I guess that it would probably be in our best interest to have that center span individually load rated so we would know what its capacity would be.
You're saying span as end to end.
No.
Just the center
It's
span.
a 3
It's a
section
3-span bridge.
Okay.
That's got a fracture critical
Oh,
truss
you're saying the
in
center one
middle.
as in the middle, not the. Okay.
Yes,
I understand.
and the end pieces are what's the major issue right now as far as the weight ratings go, the
Okay.
load ratings. But yes, we could replace those approach spans that are going to meet ratings, but I'd like to know what that center span, the truss, would rate at before I make that decision.
So who can do that?
Kirk and Michael should be able to do that.
I'm just saying, if we estimate that as $1 million bridge, and truly we don't need to do 2/3 of the work to provide, the demolition and restructure of all the pillars underneath.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, but I want you to make note that if we replace each approach span, that we could have $150,000, $200,000 out of our pocket to repair that bridge. Now, if it gets put on and the center span might only rate at 12 tons. Okay? Now, if we put it on a bridge program where it becomes an 80-20, and we only have to pay 20% of it, we could potentially get a brand new bridge cheaper out of the Lincoln County's pocket and have a unlimited load rated bridge. You know where I'm coming from.
I do understand, and my only rebuttal to that is we have so many bridges out in that particular area. What else needs a full replacement where we can't salvage? I mean, plus that's pretty amazing craftsmanship under there that's existing and looks like it doesn't need much to reinforce it. You know, we have just in that section alone, you know, within like a 5-mile square radius, there are about 4 closed bridges. So monetarily, I understand what you're saying. You invest the same amount of money, you're getting a new decking and a new, you know, span system versus a whole new bridge replacement. But with that 80-20 split, is there a possibility of opening another bridge there for people that are going miles around?
You know, I don't see us repairing or replacing one that's closed before we repair something that's currently open, is my view on it. I think there's enough of them that are deteriorating quick enough over time that we're going to see more get closed than we're going to be able to replace and keep open.
Well, especially at $1 million a pop. I mean, and if we're not getting approved for
funding, yes,
right.
I understand.
You're gonna get one every other year at best. At best, you're
At
gonna
best.
get one every other year. And when you have 200 in some of them, I believe.
It's close to 200 now.
Well, I mean, I think that one's definitely a priority in the area. There are at least a half a dozen farmers that use it regularly and need the load rating to be much higher than it's posted.
Yeah, no, it's at a 3-ton now, and I can't guarantee without having an engineer do a full workup on it what that center span would be. You know, what I fear is the fact that, okay, that center span will load out at 12 ton, and we can do the approaches to load out as unrated, so it'd be unlimited what they can handle, legal load.
Right, and then you're still...
Then we're still with a 12 ton.
You're
Well, if we
limited
make
to
it
that.
to a 12 ton, they're going to run over it anyway.
Are we not able to subcontract that portion of it? If you're saying we can't in-house change out
Well, I'm
the
not
center
saying.
span,
Well, the center span. If you're going to do the center span, also, wow, yeah, that would definitely have to be subbed out. You know, that's a long reach, and you'd have to have some cranes and everything else to do that. And we'd possibly have to. I can't recall how long those spans are off the top of my head, but we might even have to have a crane just to do the approach spans. You know, it's hard to, it's next to impossible to enforce what goes across the bridge.
What else you got, Michael?
That's all I have this week.
Michael, have a good
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all. You all have a good one.
Do you have something you want to talk to us about?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
Sir, do you have something that you wanted to talk to us about? Okay.
I just come to watch.
Okay. I didn't want to exclude you if you wanted to see us about
No,
something.
that's okay, I just come to experience.
I guess
You'll
that's
never,
you,
you'll
Don.
never forget it. It'll
There you
stick
go.
with you forever.
Did they charge you admission at the door? Is the question.
Oh, do they?
Well, he's carrying tag renewals, so I would say yes.
Yeah, that's a form.
She asked if they charged you admission at the door, and I said you were carrying tag renewals, so I would say yes.
Okay.
Slightly.
It's not worth much, I can tell you that.
Do you want to talk ambulance first or what I have?
I don't care.
Let's do your stuff first.
Okay. So our copier, the county general bought in 2010. So it's 7 years old. Actually, 29 we bought it. 2010 we took possession of it. It is dying. And the reason why county general takes care of it is because everybody in the courthouse uses it. It's a fact. It's also the courthouse fax. Everybody uses it as a printer and a copier. The treasurer's office has a small copier. The appraiser's office has a copier. Normally what we do is we rotate my copier into the appraiser's office and we get rid of the appraiser's office copier. So ours is starting to slow down and have more and more problems. So when I say that we're going to give a problem to the appraiser's office, we're kind of going to give a problem to the appraiser's office, but they have a different volume of printing that they use. Right now they have Canon, which is our old one. They can no longer print to it. The network card is bad and it's so old that they can't replace it, but they can use it as a copier. So they also have an InfoPrint printer that is a scanner, fax, the whole 9 yards. They have said if we were ready to trade, that they would be willing to give that to Dede in human resources. We
It
just
won't
haven't.
print from the network though.
The old copier itself we'll get rid of. The InfoPrint printer they have that they're using to print to right now works.
But you're saying, you said the network card went bad on the copier that they have.
Correct.
So you can't hardline to it to print?
No, you can't print from a printer. You can use it as a copier and that's it. So what we would propose is that one would go away completely, that we dispose of it, and that we transfer my current copier over to the appraiser's office. It does color, so they would no longer need color options, so they no longer need that InfoPrint, and then their InfoPrint would then be transferred to the human resource office, who doesn't have anything. Well, I take that back. She has a Lexmark printer right now, but it's not. It's the old treasurer's office printer, and it's not doing so hot. So basically, every time she wants to do any large prints, she sends it to our office. So the 3 bids that I received, I've put them in order, probably from the most to the least. But the key office one is exactly what we have, just a newer model of it. And you can see that the price is $14,200.
What's the discount?
Yeah. And none of them are bidding trade-ins because that old copier that's in the appraiser's office right now isn't worth anything. It's just going to go to the landfill. Whoever takes it, we'll just take it off our hands. So, 360. Their bid is a little bit more, but it also includes a second copier for the treasurer or for the appraiser's office. So basically, when I asked him for a bid, I told him what we were going to be doing so that we wouldn't really have a copier to trade in. And so his bid is to replace it with a Kyocera and then replace the current Canon with a Kyocera and place a Canon. So basically his bid is for 1 new machine and 1 refurbished machine that they've traded in from somebody else that
Where
they
are you
think is a better.
Where's the price?
The price for that is the 72.
But you said it was more.
Yes.
14.
Sorry,
is half.
more than the last page.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you did say that you're putting them in descending order. Okay.
Yeah. So it's $7,469. So if you want to look to see, I asked him, what is the value of the one you're bidding? And he said he was throwing the other one in for free. So I would say the value of the current printer that he's bidding is $7,249. I have not had any experience with Kyocera. He did send me some references on Friday. So if it's something you guys are interested in, then I would want to call and kind of find out about the piece of equipment because I've never used one.
What is the service contract for the first one? It doesn't say.
It's down at the bottom, it's 0.009 cents per black and white copy, 0.075 cents per color copy. And then they would bill us as we use it. Currently, right now, we're on where we just pay annually
Right.
for a set amount. They would just bill you per, which is what most of them are.
What are
doing.
you putting out in a month? Like on,
Right now, we're
Copy.
contracted to do 60,000 black and white per year and 20,000 color per year.
hold on, 60,000. Wow. That's already $540 just for black and white.
Yeah, we're paying 16. Well, I think this year it was $1,700 for an annual agreement.
What did you say? How many color? 20,000?
20,000. And we've not had to pay overages for the past 2 years, so I would say those numbers are a little high.
Well, that's 15. That's almost $2,000 for the year service contract for that at that rate.
Mm-hmm. And that supplies all of the toner, all the waste toner, and any repair. We don't pay anything at all for. That's an all-inclusive price. So when they charge that, it pays for any repair. I will tell you, our current copier has had the entire guts replaced because we had a squeak and they couldn't figure it out.
So this next company, 48,000 black and white instead of 60. Are you between 48 and 60, or are you under 48?
No, we're under 60, but we don't know if we're above 48 because they hadn't put our copy count on it per annual, and we didn't write it down when they called to check. So basically what they're doing anyways is that tells you what the overage costs are. So if you took what that price was and averaged it out, their price is just a little bit higher.
Yeah, overages are .013 for black and white instead of .009.
And then when you get to the third print, it's a image quest. It's a Xerox. Currently, our highway department has the old health department. The health department has, so they have an image, or they have a Xerox. The health department has a Xerox. County attorney has one, and district court. And so the last bid is their price.
That one that we leased for the county attorney's office, did we lease purchase it? I mean, we had a lease payment and now we don't. So what happened to it? Did we buy it off?
I think it's a lease purchase. I think we pay something to them every month.
We did. I don't think we do anymore. I think now it's just the service contract. I could be wrong.
I think it's intermingled, but I don't know that for sure. I think what we're paying for is actually the copy count, which is their service agreement, which I didn't realize when it comes out and it says copy count until they were bidding us this year. And like Key Office doesn't do the annual anymore. They just do a copy count price and it covers all of the service agreement. So when Hannah puts it in as copy count, I think it's actually the service agreement because that's what they talked about as well. Now she kind of quoted us a monthly cost so that we could kind of see what the monthly cost and times it by what we're currently paying to see what it would cost.
Is there a reason that he wanted, or whoever from 360 wanted to include a second one? Or was that just kind of like they came up with their own deal?
I think it was to,
because
give us a deal.
All I'm saying is you have an additional service charge for a second one that you wouldn't have if you're only buying one.
Well, the appraiser's office will have to probably keep the service agreement with Canon or with
So you're
Key
saying
Office.
you would send this second one to the appraiser's office instead of your old one?
Yes, that's what he's proposing. So he's proposing take our Canon completely, put 2 Kyocera's in the courthouse, and then they would still have a service agreement because the appraiser's office still pays for a service agreement for their current machine. They just wouldn't have the volume that we have. They could cut it back.
And do you need this network support contract, or what is that?
All of them have the network ability.
But
So-
the support contract is an additional cost on the second one, on the 360, $30 a month.
That was for the second machine. Oh.
But I'm saying, it says optional.
Yeah, it does
Is,
say optional. I don't know what that is, because no, we would have it next tech handle or.
I mean, I'm just looking at it this way.
Support.
You have a $2,000, approximately, a year additional fee for the first one under Key products. And then you have another $2,000, but it's for 2 copiers this time. So what are we paying for your Canon right now on a year?
We're paying $1,700 and something.
So that would save us a little bit of money on the on the service contract for
Of course, I think we would have overages with the 48,000 and the 12,000.
in your office,
Mm-hmm.
but not in their office.
No.
So, but you're talking 1,700 compared to 650. Well, depending what they pay now, I don't know.
For key office.
What can you reduce your Canon to if it goes to their office and they have?
I honestly don't know
Just
what they
volume-wise.
are because we'd have to look at their contract. I didn't look at their contract. And they can go back to just a per copy count. I just insisted with Canon or with Key Office a long time ago that we have an annual rate and we'd be done with it. I didn't want to have the monthly bill
Variances,
coming in.
yeah.
And and at the time they didn't cover the drum, which is the most expensive part of the copier. We've had 3 drums put into this machine. So I would rather, now I've probably paid more up front if you really think about it over a long span than if I would have just done by the copies. But at the time they didn't offer to cover the drum. Now they're still continuing to cover the drum and all of the toner, etc. But originally when we were with Key Office and we did the bid, they did not want to pay all of that expense and you would have to buy your toner and everything outright. But
So this last one then under Xerox, what are they basing that monthly service cost off of? Because that's definitely lower, but it doesn't say how many.
they're doing it off of our current volume, which is
Okay.
60,000
Okay,
and 20,000.
so that's definitely a better deal. Times 12. So you're talking about 1,600 a year instead of 2,000 for the service contract. And a significantly lower price for the machine. A third. No, this isn't based on your volume. It says proposed volume included 5,000.
Per month.
Oh,
So
oh
5
yes.
times
Okay,
12
I'm
is,
sorry.
right?
Yep, you're right. It
Yeah,
does say
okay.
the payment
Yeah,
per
she
month.
just broke it down per monthly so that we could see what the cost would be.
Well, that's definitely the
monthly.
best deal. What is the Ultalink? Is that the brand?
No, it's a Xerox.
That's just their model.
Yes. And then they had an option. I told them to go ahead and option it with a stapler. We've never had a stapler. Not that it wouldn't be nice, but I just didn't really think. I can't remember where it's at.
Was that the office finisher?
Yes. I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think I gave you guys the bid.
I don't
for
see it.
but-
That's hard to justify saving $8,000 up front. I should say hard to justify not saving.
Yeah.
Are you,
That's quite a
do
few
you
years
think
of
the
service contract.
Xerox is all right?
I think that's probably the way to go. Everybody else has a Xerox. We always just had a Canon because a long, long time ago, Midwest Business Machines, which was Dick, can't think of his last name, he always come, they provided really, really good service. I can't tell you that Key Office doesn't provide good service anymore, but I can't tell you that they do phenomenal. They still have a guy, he's coming from Junction City, but they've sold so many times now, they just don't provide the services that they used to provide. Xerox and 360 both have places in Salina that they send people from. I've never had any experience with 360, so I can't tell you yay or nay. I was a little upset that he didn't give me the bid that I had asked for. But yet I understand. Yeah, I understand.
My personal feeling is that Canon is not as good a copier as Xerox. My experience from 30 years ago that I wouldn't own a Canon. And the drums are a problem.
Mm-hmm.
They always have, or they were back when I was using them. The drums we were always having trouble with drums.
I will tell you, the service guy was a little disappointed when I told him that we were going to send it to the appraiser's office because he said, "You're just moving my problem." But I think as low a volume as what they have.
It won't be the same.
Yes.
It won't be as frequent.
That helps.
And the fact that we know that everything in the inside has been changed within the last year. I mean,
Yeah,
literally,
you
we
have
had
some
a
time
tweak.
to buy.
Yeah.
We have a question.
Well, you know, I was just, at that church, they have that Konica Minolta Biz Hub. Have you checked in on those? that worked really good, and I know
That's
Conica, Minolta, and Bizho. I've heard good things about them. I don't, and I'm not saying that. I just know that a lot of people like those, but you haven't checked it. I don't know where that, like our church has that, works really good, and they advertise them a lot. They seem to be, people like them, but I don't know. You know, I'm not saying to look into that. I was just curious if you checked
The
them.
volume would be the difference here.
Yeah.
Volume.
Yeah, you use a lot more volume.
Volume is just
I don't see how
terrific.
The
like
service on it.
Schools are.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
well, and I will tell you, in 2010 we paid $9,000 for the Canon that we have. So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
expecting to be in the $12,000 range, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's hard to justify the numbers. We have, well, and that's weird that they're retailing, they're claiming $23,900 and saying that the end price is $14,200. But then we have ones that can handle the same capacity for $74,000 and $56,000. That's pretty. Being that they bid this Xerox at your current output, or what you're currently covered for now, I would say that's a pretty good deal. You're talking a little over $1,600 a year versus $2,000 a year, plus an initial savings of $8,000. I think we need to go for that one. That's my personal opinion.
I'll move that we purchase a Xerox.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. So you said general fund? Is that is
County
that
general.
capital outlay, or is it?
Improvement.
It will just come out of probably the contractual 4,300 line item. We'll see where we have money. We could buy it out of the 4,200, but as much as it is, it's probably a 4,300 spends. We have, County General has money, or I probably would have sat another year on it, but I think I'm biding my time, because I really think we got our usage out of it.
Well, and if that other cannon is going to pose to be a problem, you should ask them what they have for lower capacity. I mean, that's hard to justify that price difference, you know?
Yeah.
Unless it really turns out to be a floppy machine, but.
It just, yeah, I don't know. We seem to have had really good luck just transferring like we have until they, because normally by the time it officially dies, it's time for us to replace. And but we can check and see if it'd be worth it. So okay, so ambulance. I had talked to Dee about placing an ad, and of course. We haven't placed an ad yet. We need to put it in this week's paper. I'll call down and figure out what she sent down, because I told her to maybe go ahead and send down a temporary, and then we could discuss. Her and I discussed advertising it as a part-time and saying as part-time ambulance director with the potential of being full-time, to kind of cover all bases without having to need to re-advertise. And then that way she could kind of explain to anybody that might apply what the situation is. But, and then the next question is going to be pay and those type of things that will, need to be handed out with. And I will tell you, we struggled with that with the HR officer, because everybody wants to know what the pay is going to be.
And I would like us to look at the job description, because when we had HR review, it seemed like there were some changes that I didn't necessarily personally catch. But I think there is some misunderstanding as to what all responsibilities lie within that particular position. And if we're going to make the decision for it to be part-time versus full-time at any point in the future, I think that's the commission's responsibility to clarify all of that and not just let someone walk into this situation hoping that they can figure it out. I mean, in the last 6 or 7 years, we've had 4 or 5, at least 4 that I know of, directors down there. So I think that's a defect in the commission as far as not qualifying where the responsibility lies. And I really don't want to see that fall on the clerk's office again.
So, are you saying you would like to do a job description for a part-time and a job description for a full-time and have it be separate, or try to do one together with minor changes, if depending on whether or not it's full-time versus part-time? Or do you want to do both, so that this is what this job responsibility is if it's part-time and this is what it is? I mean,
I think ideally we could do both, because if we're saying that like in our budget, we can't necessarily offer the benefits package immediately, and we need to know what we expect out of someone who's not going to get a benefits package. Then we need to also know what we expect out of someone who is going to get a benefits package. If we, maybe someone voluntarily wants to move to part-time, or,
okay.
I guess I'm just saying I think the commission needs to have a better lead on our expectations before we just throw someone in there.
Okay. So how about this? So, because I don't know how long Dede's going to be gone.
Right.
I'm assuming she'll be back sometime this week. But how about I email you guys the current job description?
And the one prior, please.
Okay.
Because I did notice some differences there that...
And one prior.
Mm-hmm.
And then I will have her come down and be ready to make changes. I'll have her bring 2 copies down, be ready to make changes on what would be considered a part-time and what would be considered a full-time, so that she can be prepared. Okay?
And if we're still advertising, like you said, if you're saying that it's current part-time potential to be full-time, that's fine. Maybe we could set a goal for ourselves and say we're not going to interview for 3 weeks yet until January comes, around,
Mm-hmm.
and that way it gives us time to clarify, but we can still start scheduling interviews, and that way the people that are interviewing know that there's a time frame that they have to work within.
Okay.
We could even post that and say, not interviewing until end of January or something like that.
So, how about if we say that we'll accept applications through, and then I'll just pick a date, say like the January 20th,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll see whatever that Friday is of that
Right,
week.
and then we can give ourselves a week to decide interviews and set a date for interviews or something like that.
And then we'll just add the standard or until the position is filled.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And where do you guys want to advertise at? Lincoln and Lucas. And I think that there is on the board of EMS.
Change the website, there's
How do you spell that?
I think it's KEMSA.
yeah.
Okay.
I think if you Google that, that will at least start.
Okay.
Get you close enough.
Kansas Emergency Medical, blah, 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 blah.
I'm going to suggest the Salina Journal just because I know a lot of people in Lincoln either get Lincoln, Lucas, or neither, and they just get the Salina Journal, so...
Okay, the thing with the Salina Journal is it's extremely expensive. So do you want to just try to do a weekend, or do you want me to have her get pricing and then let you know? I want to say it's like $370 some just for a weekend. But it could be that that's the week price, or that it's really expensive. How about I get pricing, and then we'll decide that
Sure.
next week. Okay.
Sure.
I don't know that we need to start out, as expensive as that is, I think if we did these other ones, and if we weren't getting results, maybe we would expand a little. What about they have a website, or they have a web deal on KSAL, don't they? Don't they still have that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I hear advertised. I wonder what that costs.
We'll
I
find
guess
out. I think
my experiences with the Salina Journal, I'm not sure we're getting our bucks worth.
I understand it's expensive, but if we're going to spend money to advertise in the Lincoln paper and the Sylvan paper, who are we even reaching that's qualified? I mean, we've already talked about how we don't have
You
enough.
also have Next Tech.
Yeah, next text.
I'm questioning whether the Salina Journal, I guess, is.
I understand the
enough.
cost.
No, I'm
expense, but-
questioning whether the cost and the outreach of it are anywhere.
if anybody looks in the paper anymore.
Yeah.
I
But they
think
put that online, don't they? Don't they also have online?
they do, but you have to pay for a subscription.
An
So
online
if you
subscription
get,
is separate from your paper.
Well, if you get a paper subscription, you get the online for free, but somebody who just,
Once online, you just, well, I understand. It's the same for Lincoln, isn't
I
it?
kind of think the KSAL though is linked to this line of journal somehow. So I think if we advertise in this line of journal, they run
Run it on the web. I don't know.
yeah.
Next
But
Tech is
we'll find
free,
out.
I think you said, right? I believe that's true. Next Tech is free
Yeah.
for listings.
Okay.
And then, I can't remember if it was in one of our interviews or not, but we talked about someone using a
Well,
particular hiring site.
We had that HR Direct or something like that, but I think that one's going away, which is where some of those applications came from.
Maybe that's what I'm
Like
thinking
that
of.
Christopher had
Yes.
applied on it.
Yes.
And I know Hannah knows how to post on that, so
Okay.
until it does go away, I just don't remember when it's disappearing. Okay. Well, we'll have some starts, and then we'll, I'll definitely send out, I'll have her send out in their paycheck stubs to the current employees and the volunteers, so we'll just kind of photocopy the ad and stick it in there so they know. Okay. Oh, and I apologize, I meant to leave this over here, but this was from swabbing. So if you're hungry, there's just some candy.
You might as well take it in the break room, I think. Unless somebody wants.
Yeah,
No.
Was there
Yeah,
anything?
it tastes like bacon and eggs.
I don't think so. Was there anything else on the ambulance that you guys wanted to discuss before?
I want to discuss something that's been brought to my attention, and it's not just for ambulance, but it's in general. What is our policy, or do we have one? Do we need to make one as far as cleaning facilities? It's just been some comments here and there over the last year about who does what cleaning. Do we contract any out? What are the expectations of the personnel within that particular building? And I don't care if it's health department or EMS building or the garage up for the highway department or here. What are our expectations? I mean, are we having them, are they always responsible to do their own bathrooms? Is there any kind of schedule? I mean, I understand that that's mostly up to the department heads, but it seems like that's not something that's been addressed professionally. It's kind of just been left up to.
I think they had a list at the EMS building of stuff supposed to be done every day.
So has the commission ever inspected, at least to have some oversight?
I think it just, the only time I remember hiring anybody was like doing the shampooing the carpets or something like that. Otherwise, it's just been all taken care of internally.
The health department, they take care of it themselves. I don't know how Ladonna has that scheduled, but I think it's when they have downtime. The law enforcement center, a very, very, very long time ago, we used to pay a dispatcher extra to clean, and I think now they just assign it to,
Whoever's on
Driver.
duty?
yeah. Here, of course, we have a custodian.
Well, I guess, and that's some of my question too. If we have a hired custodian that's here for 40 hours, I guess I've never seen a list of the responsibilities in that position. Is there time to assign something additional where they go down once every 2 weeks and do the bathrooms or do, and I'm just throwing some ideas out there, but with a 40-hour paid position with full-time benefits, what are the expectations here in the courthouse? Do they have any other, I think he was doing some mowing some other places, correct?
But you also have people working in those facilities 40 hours a week that may have the time on their hands to do their own cleaning too.
Right, so how do we
that's
establish
getting
a
it done.
precedent for that? Across the board that's kind of fair and equal is what I'm getting at.
I honestly think you guys should just start walking into the facilities and seeing them.
We need to do like an annual inspection or something, or
And not, I mean, even if you just go
semi-annual.
one-on-one. I know somebody said the highway department just gets clean whenever they have special functions with a power hose. So I don't know what, but I know I've had a lot of
Have you
people.
been in
come
that
from-
facility?
The highway departments? I won't go there. I'd go potty first here.
It's not what you'd call special place.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And it's probably
I
old and
don't
outdated.
know if you would know if it was cleaned or not, to be perfectly honest with you.
I've been out to the transfer station. I was a little scared to sit, so I'll just be honest with you. But it is
I think
important.
but I mean, it's our job to establish some expectations, is what I'm getting at. So, whether it's a policy or an inspection that we do, I think there's some dissatisfaction there among the ranks as far as who's expected. You know, what if you're the only person that cares if it's clean, so you do it your shift and you're cleaning up after everyone else? I mean, that is very frustrating to be in that position. So, and like I said, I've not even seen a checklist for this building.
I think we have one, so I'll ask Sean Paul, but I don't. It's been a long time since I've been in church.
Do we pay him to do the district court area as well?
Yes.
Or,
Yes, he's supposed to sweep and mop.
and does he do these offices, the economic development and the?
I believe so. I know that they vacuum the carpets, and I
It
know that
varies.
he.
You know, the last two guys, they've done the mowing and the yard work. The one before that didn't do any mowing, just the interior of the building.
But that's what I'm saying. I think the commission needs to tell them what to do, not just hope that one person has internal aspirations to outshine the next. I mean, or the prior. Could you just schedule us a segment if we're not too booked on next week, and we'll at least discuss that, and I'll bring some ideas.
Yep. I can send out an email and ask the departments what they're doing.
Yeah, if the department heads have, you know, someone like Ladonna may already have a checklist and an expectation list.
Okay, and then I just have one last thing. You know, AT&T was here like 2 years ago about changing the phone system, and I kind of dragged my heels, but I think we are getting to the point where, like, they're trying to get you off the Plexar system and trying to get you onto their fiber lines by increasing the pricing. So what I've done is I've set up, I sent out to the department heads, and I think I'm going to do this January 16th, where Robert from Eagle Communications has been really annoying, but annoying me. I told him wait till after the election, so we finally had a sit down and talk. But I think what we're going to do is try to explain to the departments what's going on to give us options, because you know AT&T was just bring in the internet, telephone, and keep your current phone system. The phone connection guy that was here with AT&T actually has a guy that works, might you say, as a consultant. You would basically work with his company, and anytime you had a downtime, you would call them, and they would take care of the contact with AT&T to get help. And then we have Next Tech that offers phone service, and we have Eagle that offers phone service. So I at least have 3 different options. I don't know if they offer all the same, but I thought maybe if I had the department heads come in and actually sit down, understand what's going on, figure out what their needs are, because there are some options where we could be outlying to other areas and not have as many phone lines as what we currently have. It's like a gamut of things, and I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm technologically stupid with this aspect.
You need a consolidation plan.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so I thought, well, we would set it up. So it's going to be January 16th. That should be a Wednesday at 10 a.m. And if you guys would like to come, please come. If you don't want to come, of course, Terry, I know you don't give a crap.
I'm out of here. Randy, mark that on your calendar, bud.
January 16th.
10 a.m.
I think I'm busy then.
Yeah, I thought I would try to get Leon to come out because I feel like he's an unbiased opinion. He operates our phone system, and we just need our phone system to work. But they have some different options where they just move the lines, and it's internet based, and our phone system works. They have a system that is no more phone system, all new phone system. But I thought maybe what I would do is have Robert has agreed to come and visit with them, and I'll have Leon come and visit with them, and then we'll figure out what it is that we want them to actually bid, and then seek out bids with a goal of maybe changing in April before the treasurer's office gets busy in May. But I've told everybody, regardless, going over the internet scares me because internet has not been reliable in Lincoln. And I don't want to have to send out emergency messages that the phone system is down at the courthouse, so please don't call us like the school does every once in a while. Now, I will say, I think the schools has lessened since they switched their providers. But I just, that worries me. And so with that being said, I don't want to be the person that makes the decision. I know you guys will ultimately make the decision, but I feel like the department heads need to have a vested interest.
Well, I definitely think they do. They're the ones that use it every day. We don't.
And because sometimes cheaper isn't always better. And so I was kind of hoping maybe out of that meeting we'd get some that would say, hey, I am really interested in this, and I'll help come up with a solution. So ultimately that's our goal. I don't know if it will work, but trying to pass on a little of some of my responsibilities.
No, I think
So,
absolutely. I use it.
yeah. And it's looking like we could probably save half of what the current telephone bill is
That
now.
would be
It's
great.
just terrific.
Yeah, it surprised me a bit.
I have two updates. Lincoln Park Manor Committee. The first one is, Dawn, I'm going to ask you, this is public session, but our email that we received as a committee as far as forming a budget for the future, I think it's still kind of protected because it has some information, financial information that was part of like a non-disclosure between our attorney and the information they got, through Lincoln Park Manor. So if you would send that to the other commissioners.
Is that one Steve
Yes,
sent?
yeah. It kind of just
You'll
has
have to
the.
give me a hard copy. I still have no access.
Okay. So, but I wanted that to get to you without coming directly from me. So I think that'd be the proper way to do it. And it's, basically I'd call it attorney-client privilege probably because it has some disclosure about
Can you get it on your iPhone?
prior budgeting.
Can you get it on your iPhone?
I can get a text, yeah.
So I think what we need to do is kind of we need to have an executive session at some point. I'm not proposing it now, but to look at that budget and see what kind of feedback we want to give.
Monday.
Oh, yes, and Randy's going to need that. Thank you. She pointed to you. He'll need that. So, and that being said, because that's kind of where we are financially, just still looking at the situation, the committee has decided to suspend further meetings until the commission and Mr. Hay kind of get what we had already talked to him about asking for, our list of potential purchasing items, purchasable items from him, and what was the other thing we asked for? It was in last week's minutes.
Oh, census.
The census report for the year, so we kind of know where we stand there, and then the items that he may want to sell as assets that we could use or need to run the facility. And we probably need to make a decision about those bills. I don't think we need to be buying cleaning products.
No.
That's their
No.
responsibility.
I don't know what that is, but
I'd also like to verify that we own that pager system. I mean, I don't remember seeing it on the...
We do. I don't know why it wouldn't be. It's the call light system.
But that's not... But you're talking about one that's directly wired into the building. And I saw that. This is a...
No. It's all one thing.
Yeah.
It's all one thing. The only difference is it used to have lights in the hallways that would light
Now
up
it's
the
attached
room.
to their personal thing.
Now it's a handheld device that. No
Well, let's
matter
make
where
sure
they're
that's
at in the building,
clarified on that inventory list. Just...
I'll
Going.
double check, but yes, I know we own that.
Yeah, I don't know what that one there is, but if it's what it appears to be,
Okay.
it's a cleaning product.
And I'm also, I mean, if we're going to be calling people to flush toilets, that's a little bit of that's a concern for me because the agreement in the lease is that they will take care of
But
routine
It
maintenance.
was a weekend, I assumed the maintenance man was there on the weekend. It says it was a weekend. Until I sorted out that. Weekend service call, so I'm sure their maintenance person isn't available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What is that?
Peanuts.
No. Are they
Wow.
salted?
That's all I have, so.
I'm not sure. Oh, and then there's peanuts in the bottle. Yes, they are salted.
We could have been
I licked
doing
the
peanuts
shell.
all day.
Yeah, can be thrown on the floor.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Or do you have anything else, Don?
Nope, I don't.
You let your
but
kids eat them? Peanuts?
Oh,
Take the sack.
yeah, thanks. That'll be
I'd say
good.
there was
You hang the sack up
That'll
for
be
the,
cleaning
for the
project.
one, the one that's gonna ride.
Yeah.
At least have the stocking there.
Well, Joe, do you want to just come up? And
Sure, I'll come